So the news really has a way of saying things in ways that they aren't. It's a technique that I've actually used for the headline on one of my videos saying exactly what it is that I'm saying in there. Just an attention grabber. That's basically why they do it. But also, they don't work for us. They work for rich people. The same rich people who buy off politicians, own news corporations, among other things. The reason I say buy them off is because it's pretty obvious the way that the laws are set up, that the laws are set up to screw anybody that doesn't have any money. One headline I saw said that there were 2.5 million jobs created in the United States just last month. Well, gee, that is part of the number of people who were made jobless just last month. So we're 2.4 or 2.5 million people. Is it that there are 2.5 million jobs that were created, or is it that there were 2.5 million people who lost their jobs? Just so you know, there was more than 2.5 million that lost their jobs last month. A lot of people still have to go into work. A lot of people can't go into work. There are a lot of parents who are currently out of work because their kids are at school and have been for quite a few months. A lot of those parents done lost their jobs already too. Can't exactly take them to childcare, can you? So let's put a positive spin on it. Instead of saying that 2.5 million people lost their jobs last month, we'll say we created 2.5 million jobs last month. No, that is not how it works. They did the same thing with me and with a lot of other cases of people that I knew. There was a guy named Eddie. He used to play the guitar on Pearl Street. He's going to be in jail probably for the rest of his natural life for killing two men or killing one man. I think both of them eventually died. But here's the thing: they followed him to where he slept. I knew the guy that he stabbed, one of the two people that he stabbed. The guy had been trying to stab me earlier, and probably 2 or 3 days prior to that, the guy was trying to start problems with me outside of Old Chicago. He ended up cutting a friend of mine's hand to block down because I wouldn't have any part of it. I just walked around the little thing, and he was a little too drunk to walk over it to catch me, and too drunk to walk past to catch me. So I was all right. Instead of getting up in his face when he started threatening me with the knife, I went, "Well, I'll just avoid this dude." Because I avoided him, though, somebody that I know got hurt. Um, I could have gotten up in his face, but the thing is, he wasn't pointing that knife at other people at that point in time. He was pointing that knife at me. A couple of days later, this guy, all drunk with his knife, and his friend followed Ed back to where he was sleeping, and Ed defended himself. And life has a way of happening when you're busy making plans. If I'd have gone to the police, I'd like to believe that Ed would not be in prison. Those two other men would still be alive. They'd they'd probably be in prison for what they did, but they'd still be alive, and they wouldn't be able to hurt anybody except people in prison. And in prison, hopefully, they'd get sober enough to not be like that. Because most of the violence that I've seen in my lifetime came from alcohol. I've seen a lot of violence. I've also taken a part in a lot of violence, and most of that did not involve alcohol. Now we got these headlines. I see how once in a while the news tries to look objective when it comes to the homeless, but they never succeed. The reason for this is I go through articles and articles and articles about stuff that I was personally there for or knew about when it comes to the homeless in Boulder County and whose side is it gets told. Just the police. You go looking through most of those articles about homeless people getting in trouble. Those homeless people, in most cases, were actually victimized by the police, were victimized by the public, and they got in trouble because they were the one who was homeless. And then you got the roll throughs. Anybody who's considered mentally ill. If you're considered mentally ill and the police get your number, they will keep on recycling you through the jails over and over and over again. You'll get put on probation, and it'll be 2 to 3 years, and usually 2 to 3 months before the end of your probation is over, they make any excuse to violate you. And they keep you there and keep racking up. That's the way most of Colorado makes its money, through incarceration. That's stuff that you guys are paying for that you never get to see. Maybe you should find out where your money's going and why. Oh, my back is so itchy. The mat that I'm sleeping on, I usually roll it up, but last night it was dark in here, and I walked on it. It's, of course, dirt outside of here, and so it's dirt in here, and I cracked it onto my bed. Now I itch. Sorry about that. When I found out about Chris Watts, I was driving through Firestone. How odd is that? And a lot of people keep talking about him and what he did to his family. There's a lot of people that do messed up stuff to their family, and sometimes their family lives through it, and that's painful. The news doesn't care about that. When it comes to this court stuff, they just tell you what the cops said, and the cops are liars. Plain and simple, they're taught to lie. They're taught who they can be predatory towards and who might have the money to sue the city. They're taught pain compliance. Now let me tell you something about pain compliance. It's taught in law enforcement. It's also taught in the military, and it's illegal in both because it goes by another word, torture. 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 Something that the news articles just keep on leaving out of all these situations. When Tyler Hay was murdered in Clearview, and apparently there's an unnamed woman who was murdered at Clearview after him, using the same techniques that I had told you they used on me. Those drugs that they put into you, they're dangerous. Y'all might think alcohol is safe. It's not. Not everybody's the same. Not everybody's genetic makeup is the same. Not everybody's reaction to those chemicals is the same. We got to do a better job. A lot of the parents that I know, see all the little aspects of this that I've had to deal with, they're all on my Facebook before any of this happened. You know why? That's really how it is for us. It's easy to tell how somebody is going to treat a black man in a rich white neighborhood when every time you see a black man walking down the street, your mom calls the cops show up, and he goes away. Oh, there's somebody suspicious here. They do the same thing to homeless, by the way, regardless of what color you are. And it doesn't have to be a rich white neighborhood. Anything call you in. White people, black people, women, men, lots of people just don't want to see you. A lot of people had one bad experience with a homeless person and then gave a whole bunch of homeless people bad experiences after that. People who are hurt people. But they don't usually hurt the people who hurt them. They usually go after people they can get away with doing it. People who are lower on the social totem pole or social ladder or whatever you want to call it, whatever the popular term is these days. We got regional bias. Some places you go, there's a large population, people who just don't like a certain group of other people. That's fine. You don't have to like them. Don't get violent. When you're violent against a homeless person, nobody does anything. That's Christopher Weaver, when he was attacked by 6 college students, they tried to bash his skull in with a rock. Ed Simmons, conversation with him is recorded on here. We speak about that situation. Ogre deserved better. The longer he was out there, the abuse he took, the more hateful of a person he became. Yeah, he hated being abused. Pretty soon, he just started snapping at everybody and hanging out with the drinkers. And I got to watch that man's soul get destroyed entirely. What the police did to him, what his ex did to him, what his parents did to him. His own family. Well, this is the only person out of all of his daughter's family, this is literally the only person who is doing the right thing, is Christopher Weaver. And he's having to jump through these hoops that make that impossible. And then his family is treating him like shit because he's losing everything from jumping through those hoops. He needed help. They're not willing to help him. He was adopted. He just wanted to be a real dad. And you know, we get this here in Chapel too, where they put it up in the news and people are arrested. But they don't arrest the police. You got to go through a bunch of civil stuff to try to sue them. Wait a second. Hold on a second. You're telling me that I got to sue an officer who assaulted me because you're not even going to look into it. Well, no, you're mentally ill. Duh. I knew they were going to say shit like that and do shit like that. When you're homeless, you don't matter, and the news isn't going to tell anyone otherwise. And then there's Ash. He was shot in the hospital there in Boulder. Dead to the fucking doornail. He was unarmed. Of course, that don't really matter. He was white. Nobody gives a shit. Is that true? Absolutely not. There are a lot of homeless people who knew and loved Ash. Trying to get them to put a stop to all of the violence against the homeless people. I hope all you were good. A lot of people have been sharing their stories of addiction and understanding. A lot of women, they tell me, yeah, Sean, I went through being molested. I'm a cutter and I'm an addict. And it's for all the reasons you say it is. I completely understand. Like, you need to speak up. I mean, I definitely say junkie and addict, and they are entirely 100% interchangeable to me because I can't afford to have shame at this point. I don't have, I don't get embarrassed. So that puts me in a position where I can do a lot of things where 99% of y'all just aren't capable just because you get embarrassed. Most of the time, when people are telling them little white lies that get others hurt, they're not starting off trying to get people hurt. They're trying to protect themselves from embarrassment. But they already feel the embarrassment, which is why they immediately start protecting themselves. There's a big difference between embarrassment and shame, though. I do feel shame. If I do something wrong or something I consider bad, yes, I'm ashamed of myself for it. Or I'm ashamed that I had to be pushed to that point. A lot of the things that were done to me for an entire year before Natalie was even killed, and I didn't do them back. And then Natalie was killed, and these people continued to do these things, and more people joined them, and more people got involved, not just on the internet. A lot of people say, "What? You just need to get off the Facebook file." No, that's the only way I have to contact most of my loved ones is through Facebook. A lot of those phones being stolen, their phones being stolen, because a lot of them are homeless, or they don't have the money to pay the bill again, or they drop it and it breaks, or whatever else. There's a million and one things that can happen to a phone, especially when you're moving all the time. There's been a lot of places that I went to as a homeless person. I'm sorry about the snorting and sniffling today. I don't know what it is. I do know that the two opossums do run across my stuff, but I only see them run across the foot of my bed. And although I'm probably as allergic to them as I am rabbits, I don't see any fur or hair over there. There's black stuff there, so I mean, if there was any hair on it, it'd show up immediately. Um, I can't say I feel any more sick than I do on any other day, though. I mean, every day I wake up, I realize where I'm at, and I realize that the nightmare I was just having is reality. There's a lot of good people who did recognize a lot of these situations to begin with, but they never spoke out because they were afraid. See, at the very beginning, being targeted by the public in the way that I was, being harassed by the public in the way that I was, and having Natalie's family and friends doing all of the illegal, messed up things that they were doing, and the police just didn't care. And the police done enough illegal stuff by the time they found Natalie's killer that it's pretty much been whatever we can do to protect our own asses. And the media has just not cared. For me, being put in one environment to another, to another, to another, where I can't function um, because of, if you've ever lived with an alcoholic, you know what that's like. It's fucking scary. Sometimes they're a fun alcoholic. Like I go over to Pam and Rick Martindale's. I used to. We used to be friends once. And they'd get drunk, and Pam and Rick didn't fight all the goddamn time. Sometimes Pam would be mad at Rick, but Rick mostly just took it. Every once in a while they argued, but doesn't everybody? No, I'm not inside a NASA space station. I'm inside of a horse trailer. It's pretty dark in here, and when I first came in here, I didn't have an electrical outlet to plug into. So, find my light. I have a lantern in here, and it's an LED lantern, and you think that'd be bright enough, but this thing's painted brown, and then anything that's not painted brown, it's because the brown paint came off and it's rust colored, which is brown, so it doesn't reflect much. So a lot of this is aluminum foil um, to reflect the LED, kind of like in a flashlight. Just how there's the bulb sits inside of a refractory mirror, right? I'm basically doing that with this thing so that it doesn't take much. Well, now that I have a plug-in for temporarily and I have an actual lamp, it's friggin' bright. It really does get bright in here. Hey, y'all see how easy it is to distract me with just by commenting on the side. When Natalie first died, the most anybody had seen of any of the videos that I made, somebody